who's particularly well equipped to beat Miracles. This particular deck relies on punishing fire, which is one of the worst win conditions against Miracles. So I'd say Blake is probably at a slight disadvantage for his deck building for that reason. And then on the other side of that, Joe is probably playing one of the versions of Miracles that's best equipped to beat the lands deck, because Joe's deck is a bit more creature heavy, so it's able to put a bit more pressure on. Currently, we see Jace being the real powerhouse to put pressure, but this is a card that the lands deck has a really hard time interacting with. The lands deck has a few ways that it can interact with creatures, with cards like Mazavith or the Punishing Fire combo, but the Punishing Fire combo is not particularly good against Jace going up every turn.
Well, the rest of Joe's board looks pretty formidable. He's got Senses Divining top and Counterbalance. He has a Seal of Cleansing down to stop any choke-type shenanigans. He also has a Pithy Needle that's on Rishadan Port, and a Rest in Peace, which is, basically locking Blake's graveyard out of the game, which is a big part of the lands deck strategy.
Yeah, the lands deck needs this graveyard not only for Punishing Fire, which I had mentioned, but also Life from the Loam. And right now, Joe, I mean, you can just essentially see a collection of cards that are good against lands.
So Joe is just going to continue to move this Jace up. Eventually, he's going to be able to use the ultimate to actually win the game. Blake has Punishing Fire and Life from the Loam in his hand. Grove of the Burn Wheels on the battlefield, but that Rest in Peace is making his cards look real sad.
Yeah, and I had mentioned a little earlier how usually the way that you win this matchup is by getting ahead on mana. In this case, though, doesn't look like Joe is ahead on mana, but he just had a bunch of cards that could overperform against the land's opponent. I mean, Pithing Needle, Rest in Peace, the Counterbalance Lock, and Jace, a lot of them don't take a lot of mana to deploy and are really disruptive.
So Blake is going to use his Boseiju, who shelters all, to give his Punishing Fire uncounterable. Get 2 damage in on Jace. It's going to delay the inevitable for a turn, but I imagine just like the Grinding Stone that it is, Jace is just going to keep going up in loyalty, and eventually he's going to be able to use that minus and take the ultimate.
Yeah, Joe is just doing his control thing. He's been playing this deck for quite a while. I know he entered 2 classics this year and won both of them. Joe is well known as a real master of this Miracles deck, plays his own brand of it, a bit more creature heavy than a lot of the other builds, and he's really a powerhouse.
In fact, Joe has so much faith in his Miracles deck. He dropped from the Modern Open in Louisville at 7-2.
Yep.
To play in the Legacy Classic and won.
And he won the Legacy Classic. I mean, this is, he's just a great player, knows his deck inside and out. And even though he dropped from that event, he still cashed the Open. So a man who knows how to diversify his assets and get some good value.
So Joe Lossett, currently second on our leaderboard, is going to take this match 2-0 over Blake Sanford. He's going to go to 10-2. It's going to put him in a really good spot to top 8 this event. Blake is going to fall to 9-3, still live, but he